It's late at night. You're standing alone in your room. The lights are dim. The only thing staring back at you is your reflection. For a moment, it's perfectly normal. You see yourself as you've always known, same face, same eyes, same expression. But the longer you look, something strange begins to happen. Your reflection starts to change. Its face softens, its eyes shift slightly, and suddenly it doesn't quite look like you anymore. It's unsettling, because you realize you're not just looking at the mirror. You're looking into something else. Across centuries, mirrors have been more than just reflective glass. They've been portals of superstition, tools of divination, and symbols of human self-awareness. From ancient myths to modern psychology, the simple act of facing our reflection has carried an eerie question. What exactly are we seeing when we look into a mirror? To understand this strange phenomenon, we have to go back way back. In ancient civilizations, mirrors were often made of polished obsidian or bronze, reflecting only faint, distorted images. To many cultures, these weren't mere tools, they were windows into the soul. The Aztecs believed the god Tezcatlipoca used an obsidian mirror to see into the future. In ancient Greece, mirrors were used in rituals to summon spirits or communicate with the dead, a practice known as katoptromancy. And even in the Victorian era, people covered their mirrors after someone died, fearing the spirit of the deceased might become trapped inside. To them, the mirror wasn't a surface, it was a threshold. But why do humans, even today, feel something uncanny about mirrors? Why does staring too long into your own eyes sometimes make you feel like you're looking at a stranger? Science may have part of the answer. In 2010, an Italian psychologist named Giovanni Caputo conducted an experiment. He asked volunteers to sit in a dimly lit room and stare into their own reflection for 10 minutes. The results were startling. Nearly every participant reported seeing their face morph into something unrecognizable, a monster, an animal, even the face of someone long dead. Caputo called it the strange face illusion. It happens because our brains are wired to constantly interpret facial cues, even our own. But in dim light, when those cues are distorted or faint, our perception glitches. Our brain fills in the gaps with shapes and patterns that aren't really there. Essentially, we start hallucinating, creating faces where none exist. And yet, it doesn't fully explain why the experience feels personal. Because for many, the reflection doesn't just change, it seems to take on emotion, intent, or even consciousness. People describe feeling as though their reflection is watching them back, subtly delayed, almost alive. That eerie sensation has fascinated and frightened humans for as long as mirrors have existed. In folklore, talking to your reflection was often seen as dangerous. Some believed you could invite something in a spirit, a demon, or your own darker self. You might have heard of Bloody Mary, the childhood ritual where you chant a name into the mirror 3 times and wait for something to appear. While most see it as harmless superstition, psychologists say it taps into the same primal fear. Caputo studied the unease of seeing the familiar become unfamiliar. Our reflection is the most intimate stranger we'll ever meet. We trust it to tell us who we are, but it can also remind us of something we indeed rather forget, that our sense of identity is fragile, easily distorted by light, shadow, and imagination. Every time we stand before the mirror, we are in a way confronting our own consciousness. But what happens if we go further? What if we speak to that reflection? Does it echo us, or does it respond? That's where the story gets stranger. When you talk to a mirror, it feels like a harmless act, a way to rehearse your confidence, practice a speech, or psych yourself up for the day. But on a deeper level, that simple act might be revealing something profound about human consciousness. Because when we speak to our reflection, who are we really talking to? Psychologists suggest that mirrors are powerful tools for self-dialogue. In therapy, mirror exercises are sometimes used to help people confront their fears, trauma, or self-perception. Looking into your own eyes while saying something honest can be surprisingly emotional. For some, it brings clarity. For others, it brings tears. As if the reflection forces you to meet the version of yourself you usually hide from. But there's another, darker side to this. In psychology, there's a term called the uncanny valley, a sense of discomfort when something looks human, but not quite right. Our reflections sit right on that edge. We know it's us, but when our mind starts to perceive even the slightest lag, shift, or distortion, we recoil. It feels wrong, unnatural, as if something else might be mimicking us from the other side of the glass. This is where science meets superstition. Across cultures, mirrors have long been seen as gateways not just to the soul, but to other realities. In Japanese folklore, mirrors were believed to house spirits. In some legends, they were even used to trap demons. In Russia, it's considered bad luck to look into a mirror at night, because that's when your reflection might not be you at all. Even modern paranormal researchers claim mirrors are hotspots for energy, especially in so-called haunted locations. Some ghost hunters use scrying mirrors, black mirrors, or obsidian glass to communicate with entities. They believe reflections act as a medium between worlds, capturing more than just light, but spiritual resonance. Of course, science doesn't support that claim, but it doesn't completely dismiss it either. Mirrors are, by their nature, perfect duplicates of our perception. They reverse our reality. Left becomes right, and right becomes left. Physically, it's just light bouncing back. But psychologically, it creates a mirror world, one that exists only from our point of view. So, when you speak to your reflection, it is as though you're speaking into a parallel version of yourself, a silent twin, that copies every word, every movement, every emotion, without truly existing. The human mind, wired for empathy and connection, begins to respond to this mimicry as if it were another being. It's why some people swear their reflection lingers for a fraction too long, why others feel a chill when they look away too fast. In extreme cases, this can even become pathological. There's a rare psychological disorder called Capgras delusion, in which a person believes their reflection or even their loved one has been replaced by an imposter. It's terrifying because it severs the connection between recognition and emotion. You see yourself, but your brain whispers, "That's not you." Yet, perhaps the most fascinating theory of all doesn't come from superstition or psychology, but from quantum physics. Some researchers have speculated that mirrors could represent a simplified metaphor for alternate realities dimensions that mirror our own, but aren't truly identical. It's not scientific proof, but it captures a haunting truth. The mirror is a boundary, a perfect illusion of reality that ends exactly where we begin. So, what happens when you talk to your reflection? Science would say you're engaging in introspection, a feedback loop of self-awareness. But ancient belief would warn you. Every mirror is two-sided. You see yourself, and something else sees you too. The next time you stand before a mirror and feel the urge to speak, pause. Look into your own eyes. Ask yourself, who's really listening? Because in that moment, when your voice bounces back and your gaze locks with your own, you're staring into one of life's oldest mysteries, the endless reflection of consciousness itself. And maybe, just maybe, the mirror isn't showing you who you are. It's showing you who you're becoming.